Assalamu alaikum, shalom, hotep, namaste, duanter, jambo, ashe, and all the greetings of love and light to the darkest minds of the light. This is NapahShadah, and I'm coming today to speak to you to share some of myself with you, speak to you about a portion of my career, which is to be a transition doula. Some call it death doula. Some may call it grief counselor, but it goes beyond that. Anything to do with transitioning, anything to do with the preparation of, the coping with, the preparing for. I think I said that. Yes, I said preparation. It's late. But get anything to do with the event of what many call death. Anything to do with that is what I assist individuals and families with. The reason I'm speaking on this is we're coming quickly upon the month of October, and I was considering just the energy and the spirit that's coming when the veil is thinnest. And so, I think we need to speak about not only what I do and my services, but just the concept and the event even of death. Death has been forever. It has been present in our lives. That might sound like a bit of a paradox. Yes. Death is present in our lives. And I'm using the word death because in my counseling, I don't use it so much because there's such a stigma. There's so much finality in the word. But death isn't final, and it is always present. But it's just, you can picture it as a new relationship, a transitioning, a crossing of a threshold. You can picture it as a birthing into a different realm, a different existence. While still holding on to the existence that you held, the position you held in this realm, in this lifetime. What am I saying? Well, when the spirit leaves the body, the energy leaves the body. And this is science. We have scientist, anesthesiologist Hamaroff, and quantum physicist Roger Penrose, speaking on the energy, consciousness leaving the actual cells, microtubules to be specific. Not really wanting to get too deep into science, but basically when energy leaves the body, when the spirit leaves the body, that in itself is a whole process. But when the spirit leaves the body, it doesn't, I'm doing air quotes, die. No. So there is essentially the essence of the person, each individual, if you want to call it soul. We are all immortal. We are all immortal. Every single person is immortal. Our souls are encased in another type of existence, which is our material self. And as the energy from the spark, not talking about the soul specifically, but the spark, which is from the almighty, mysterious, unfathomable God, whatever you choose to conceptualize that God as and title and call that God, that spark emanates out from the core self and it fills the material with life. It animates the material. Okay, so let's talk about death because we're speaking of death, but we're talking about life. That's the paradox. The paradox of life. And existence is that death is a part of it. So, what we do as we go through life, we want to keep it balanced. We want to keep things balanced. We don't all do very well with balancing. Our balancing acts are, they leave a lot to be desired as humans in this realm. That's why there's so much toxic energy, low vibrational energy, which is greed, jealousy, lust, envy, gluttony. One second, I need one moment. I don't want to have this paused too long, so I'm going to share a video from a channel that I often visit. It's a wonderful channel. There's so much information, so many amazing people, professionals, historians, scholars, philosophers, and I'm honored to have been welcomed into that particular uh, clique. It's not a clique, but you know what I mean, the group of people on this channel. It's called Esoteric Thoughts. I will be sharing it in post production in my description box, and I will go and well, no, and I'd like for you to go and subscribe. I have an interview that I did on that channel. So I have something to do. I just got, actually, I'm talking about um, being a doula, and I have a client who's contacting me. So this will be a perfect moment for me to just play the video that I have. It's titled Your Higher Energy, NapahShadah, and Esoteric Thoughts. The host, the owner of the channel is Esoteric. And so he interviewed me about energy, spirit, and death. Okay, so let me go in without further ado and share this, let you hear it, and I will be right back. So I'm going to go back to the beginning.
A word that you mentioned quite a lot.
Wait, let me make sure that I have the audio being shared, because I oftentimes do not do that. So let me try it again just to make sure. All righty then, let me get it. Yeah. Oh, yep. See, I didn't share the audio. I knew it. Something in my soul said, double check. All right, here we go. All right. Oops. Okay, let me get that. So here's the channel, Esoteric Thoughts. Please go subscribe and like this video, share all the videos. And please don't forget to hit the like for my video that I have here. And I'm asking for you to share it and subscribe to my channel if you have not already. Okay, here we go.
A word that you mentioned quite a lot that many subscribers often email and contact me about, but I don't really discuss often enough, is energy. And how would you, for somebody who's new to the concept of energy and vibration, how would you encourage them to learn how to tap into their higher energy and higher vibrations?
Right, that's a great question. Before you do anything and try to work with energy, you need to first clear your.
Your eyes are gonna look years and years younger in 2 minutes. 2 minutes, you're gonna have
There's some people know this term, surface mind. So your like, what's the opposite of subconscious? Your surface mind, the way you intake information, you need to clear that. Secondly, and the way you do that is, fasting, meditation, prayer, any type of trance-like disciplines or practices that you do. So, okay. Then once you do that, in all of this, you need to stay connected to who you call God, or who the other person calls Allah, or another person calls Yahweh, another person calls Yahweh. You have to connect. So I should have said that first. First, you need to you need to understand that you are connected to that power. That's your power. That is your connection. So then after that, you have to reprogram your surface mind. You need to really work on clearing out all of these programs. If they were good and solid, they're not going to go anywhere. You need to clear them out. You need to reboot. And then you need to start really sitting. Once you've cleared your surface mind, you need to continue to stay connected. Some people call it prayer. Some people call it meditation. You need to stay connected with your God, with the universal mind of God. We all are connected in that way. As we get programmed, say this is your God and this is you. As we get programmed, things come between us and that power, that energy. So it weakens us. I think I said this is us, or maybe this is us. Okay, say this is us and this is God. So as we become programmed, we become weaker. So we can't manipulate the energies. We can't do these wonderful things that we see in the movies. Only superheroes can do that. No, we can do it. But we've been taken away from our power. We need to get back to that mind of God, which we all have universally, all of us. It's exactly the same that is vibrating in you, that's vibrating in the person who might not like you, in the person who's sending you the hate mail. But theirs is very, as I said, they're so far away that they've become, I call it a lead person, because we're all soul alchemists and we are the golden people. We're the illuminated, the representation of light. So with the lead people, they are just like,
let's talk about the importance of taking care of your mental health. The key to great therapy is finding a therapist you can
vibrating on that low frequency and hate. Oh, I gotta eat. Sex. Laughing at people getting hurt. Ha ha ha. You know, it's just like, so the answer is, how do we tap into that energy? You have to stay connected to your power. And the power that you stay connected to is my power. That's exciting. So your power, oh, by the way, when I say your power, I mean the God that we call the infinite God. I'm not talking about you as a God. There are three existences in oneself. There is that power that I'm talking about, that one infinite power that we call the Spirit of God. There's our soul, which is our soul consciousness. It is us. That's how our signature, it's like macrocosm, the big God, microcosm, that's us, the soul consciousness, how we work our godhood in this realm. So we have the big God, us with little God, and then we have our material flesh existence. So when I say your God is my God, I'm talking about that, the big infinite. When I say big, I'm saying the one that is, we can't fathom. But the beautiful thing is, as we get closer to that one universal mind of God, our soul, our godhood, our soul, our consciousness starts to power up. And in powering up, that's when we're like, wow, I can read your mind. Wow, how does that lady know how to tap into her past lives? How does that brother know that he existed in this time? So that's how it works. And then all of that affects your flesh, and it usually makes you healthier. But then there are some things that we do, like sleep deprivation, when our mind becomes more illuminated, or or not eating as much as we should, and not knowing how to nourish ourselves correctly, because fasting, the least amount of food you eat, the higher your vibration of your godhood is. But then, sometimes that backfires and you'd be like, oh, I'm emaciated, eat a sandwich, but anyway. So I hope I answered that. You have to do those things. You have to get closer to the Almighty God, Allah, whatever you think that is the mind of God is. That's the universal mind of God. And so I go and go and go. So you never have to, have me. You never have to say, is there anything else? Can you elaborate? Yeah.
So here's another topic that I often get quizzed about, and I've never ever discussed it on the show, on the channel, and this is to do with death and reincarnation.
Oh, yeah.
What's your take on how you perceive death and reincarnation?
Right. Now this is all for everyone out there who's listening and who will listen. This is all scripture. It's not only exclusive to the Bible writings. It's in every holy writing that there is one infinite, powerful source that all life, all energy, all vibrating beings come from. Now, if we understand that, and we know that, now I'm talking to those who believe, we know that vibrating energy, that power, that spark is in us, it's God, right? Then and then I talked about how we get a signal. It's like we kind of like build our own little energy off of that spark, and that's our soul. That's our signature fingerprint, only us consciousness, right? So with that understood, when the material gives way and it can no longer sustain the spark, that energy transitions out of the body, out of the flesh. It takes a while for that to happen, by the way. It's not just like, okay, they're dead. And I don't even use the word dead, but I'm in context for others who do use that word. So when that energy transitions out, then this is a known fact. I have to get the name of this. Okay, first there's Samparnia. Everyone needs to know who Samparnia is, Parnia. He began as a resuscitation doctor, but he's doing all kinds of research, and this is conventional science. It's determined that now consciousness exists outside and beyond a beating heart and brain activity, meaning outside of a dead body. It's a fact. It's not just so-called pseudo or new age. Conventional doctors have determined through scientific method that consciousness exists outside of the flesh that dies. Now, with that understood, the energy coming out of the flesh goes somewhere. Now, I'm getting back into the Bible. This is for the Bible people. It says that the soul or the spirit returns to God. That's what the scripture says. That the spirit, it says the spirit of man goes up and the spirit of the beast goes down. I believe that, don't quote me, but Song of Solomon, maybe Ecclesiastes, but 100% you will find that in the Bible. Okay, stay with me on this. So we're talking about death and we're talking about reincarnation. If the spirit, remember we have two, we've got that power, that spark of the infinite source, and then we have our consciousness, our signature consciousness that like it's like worked off of, you know, your mommy gives you a piece of paper and some paint. That the infinite source is the paint and the paper, and then you draw your picture. That's your you used your consciousness to make your soul. So your soul also leaves, and it is with that universal source or that spark. Okay, it leaves the body. It returns to I'm talking to the Bible people because it's hard for them to really. They're like, this is new age and this is evil. No, the Bible says it. It says it goes back to God. Now, remember what we said in the beginning of this? Doesn't God send the energy out? So if it's going back to God and God is sending the energy back, that's a cycle. That's reincarnation.
I don't know how I heard about neurobalance somehow, somewhere in a group I was in, but I did. And I was desperate to try it because.
Oh no, well, God only sends out that new energy. He doesn't, what do you mean new? It says God is the old and the new. He is the beginning, the end. He's everything. So how can you, I mean, when I say he, I'm sorry to those, don't worry about that language. You do what you do with God and you say, because really, how can I, even the word God, I don't even use it. I'm just using it for the sake of this, for the ones who are listening. But anyway, so knowing that there's a cycle of energy of the spark, then people say, well, what about that consciousness? What about your soul that you said is on it? That's the exciting part. We're still finding out, but we know that it doesn't die. It doesn't go to a place to get burned up. No, doesn't. It exists and it can stay with energy that is sent out. It can come back. And so imagine there's grandma, she's 175 years old. She transitions. That energy, the spark of life, the flesh won't sustain it. Oh, and by the way, as a transition doula, the flesh has to release. This is something a little deeper, and maybe I could do this with you later, but the flesh, no one just, let me say this correctly. You have to decide in your soul to let go of your spirit. So you know how we say we can't control dying? No. In the depths of your soul and within yourself, with the spark and your soul, your consciousness, you in your soul, in your consciousness, decide, okay, I'm not going to stay in this flesh. Now people might say that doesn't make sense. What about people who are in war and they blow up? Well, obviously that soul is like this body, this flesh is in bits everywhere. There's some over there 4 miles away. So then the soul says, I'm gonna go ahead and transition and come back to another material body. So remember I said that. I'll stand on that. It's very exciting, because what it does is it gives us our power back. Even doesn't Jesus say, I give you power over life and death? It's like, I love it, because that just this isn't just something that's just new age, and we get which nothing's wrong with new age, but it's got so many negative connotations. It's your Bible. God said there's no death. Doesn't Jesus say you have everlasting life? Well, this is the concept that I'm sharing. So anyway, the spirit comes out of the body, then it goes, then there's another life, another realm. You can decide. Remember in the beginning, the dimensions, you can decide, I want to go back to that realm. I want to go back to the third, that 3-dimensional place that we know here. Or, I think I'm going to exist over here in the 9th dimension, or, so that's exciting part. You keep coming back because you have something to do. Just like, brother, you said to me, I found something and I'm working on it. You know what you reminded me of? And I want to say this. Have you ever seen Close Encounters of the Third Kind?
Yeah, sure.
Remember the mountain? And he was like, I gotta find out what this is. It's the same thing with the pyramid. That's the same thing. So anyway, I digress. So, you have something to do, you want to come back, and you're like, I didn't figure this out yet. So you come back, and then there's a baby, and then, before there's a baby, there's the man, the father, he's a sperm, and then the ovum, the mother. And guess what? Science, for those who want to say, oh, this is silly, and science is your God, and that's your path. There's documentation that when the sperm and the ovum connect, there's a spark of light.
Your eyes are gonna look years and years younger in 2 minutes. 2 minutes.
In that spark of light, what we call reincarnation, you've got your infinite, not whenever you were created, I don't want to say infinite, when you were created at first, like, Adam, from that moment, all of those lifetimes are still in the code, in your code. It's encoded in you, in your DNA. I think it said something ridiculous in mainstream science that 99% of DNA is junk DNA. I don't think so. It's just that we can't unlock it. And that's when we just start talking about the Akashic records and past lives. And it's exciting that I actually saw 2 of my past lives. One of my past lives, I was a female and I was lined up on the ziggurat. I just assumed when I thought ziggurat, I was like, okay, that was the ancient Aztec or something, but it could have been Babylonian. but I believe it was the ancient, it was Aztec, because of I was lined up to be sacrificed. So in 2 of my past lives that I've recalled, I was, and in the line, I'm feeling the spirit. I'm getting emotional a little bit. So, but in the line, there was another woman with me when we were young, and she put her arm, or like her hand on my shoulder, and we were consoling each other. So it was really exciting. And then in another one, I was actually, I had a family, a husband, and he was holding our newborn baby, and he actually, this sounds bad, y'all, but I'm gonna tell you what I saw. He had actually turned on me and told this group of like during the witch hunts, the trials in Europe. He had, I believe it was Europe, it might have been the New World, but he had told them that I was a witch, and they actually were chasing me, trying to put me on the stake, but instead of, they didn't get me on the stake, and I was, they were just setting me on fire, and I was running on fire, and they were laughing, and it was like I was flipping and rolling and trying to put the fire out. But it's kind of, sorry to not to bring everybody down, but my point is, I had those recollections of past life. Hopefully the next recollection it'll be something pleasant. But for me, it's all pleasant, because it is exciting to say, oh, wow, I understand myself today. I understand what's going on with my spirituality. So, talking about reincarnation, that's what I was answering. I took the long route to talk to you about reincarnation in life and death.
Do you see any correlation between reincarnation and ancestor veneration?
Oh, yes, definitely. Because remember, I said DNA, that's all in there. And we come from our ancestors, it's our DNA. So there's a connection there. It's definitely 100%. Yeah. And I believe that our spirits are magnetized. When I said the spark, it comes back, and the whatever sperm and ovum, our energy, because remember, we're all talking about everything in this realm is sound, meaning vibration. Even light is sound. And people say, you're ridiculous when I say that. But you understand there's a frequency, there's a vibration and energy. So everything is sound. So when that energy returns, it knows exactly where to go, what DNA to go into, what person, what family, what ancestors. Yes.
So there you have it. That was, as I said, esoteric. 1 second. Okay, sorry about that. That's Esoteric Thoughts, and that was a video that I did just detailing some of my teachings on my philosophy and my conceptualization of the spirit and the soul consciousness transitioning. I want to read a couple of stories, maybe 1 or 2. These are near-death experiences. Actually, they're really not near death, because the person did die and the person was resuscitated. So they're death experiences, and this is some information that I at times do give out to people that I might be working with, clients, for lack of better words, who reach out to me for my assistance as a transition doula, as a death doula. And this is, these are some stories. These are basically different life experience or near-death experience accounts from a book called Imagine Heaven by John Burke. Now, John Burke, he's a pastor now, but before he wrote this book, he had himself come across some information on NDEs, near-death experiences. But again, they were death experiences for people. And he interviewed 1,000 people, over 1,000 people, about their experience. So I just want to read one or two. I'll start with one of the stories. You can get the book, by the way. It is a bestseller, New York Times bestseller, Imagine Heaven. And this is by John Burke. Okay, so let me read this. A global phenomenon. A global phenomena. In London, England, a single mom was admitted to Memorial Hospital with severe bleeding. As the blood drained from my body, so this is her account, the person who experienced the death experience. As the blood drained from my body, so did my will to live. Now, I'm going to pause and I want to remind you what I said in the video about every single person making the choice in their soul, in themselves, to release their spirit, release the spirit and leave the material flesh. Everyone does that. When you look at it that way, you know that we have power over death. Now, if a body, as I said in the video on esoteric, if the body is too damaged, or like with this woman's account, if the pain, if you just are, experiencing something so painful or just unbearable, you will make the choice to release your will to live. Okay, so let me say this again. Let me read this. As blood drained from my body, so did my will to live. I heard a pop sound, and suddenly the pain stopped. I had a very clear view of my body as they ferociously worked on me. So this out-of-body experience, very common. They ferociously worked on me, hooking up a transfusion and other tubes. I recall thinking that I just wished they would stop. I looked horrible, and my color was very bad. The fact that I was having these thoughts from within inches of the ceiling, didn't bother me or confuse me. I was totally conscious, even though I had heard a nurse, the only one in a blue smock, tell the doctors that I had lost consciousness soon after entering the emergency room. I was very aware of every detail of the events and the room. I was aware of a tunnel which appeared suddenly, and I was being pulled into it. I was happy to be away from that tense scene below. I floated toward the tunnel and passed right through a ceiling fan, and then the ceiling. The blackness of the tunnel was churning, and I began to gather speed. I was curious about my present body, or form, and looked at my arms and hands. They seemed to be expanding and emitting a slight glow. I felt a rush of air and a low droning noise like a vibration as I gained speed, heading for a bright light far in the distance. As I proceeded at a faster rate, I felt there was a presence with me that kept me calm and emitted both love and wisdom. I didn't see anyone, but I felt the essence of my grandpa, who had died when I was 13. I finally came to the end and floated into a place which was overwhelmed by a radiant white light that seemed to embody all the concepts of love, a love which was unconditional and like a mother has for a child. I left parochial school at 17, feeling that I had been released from an unyielding prison and was far from religious, but I knew in my heart that this was God. Words can't describe my awe in this presence. I could tell he knew my every thought and feeling. The next thing I knew, I was seeing a sleeping baby. I knew to be me. I watched with fascination as I saw the highlights of each stage of my life. I felt every good or bad deed I had ever done and its consequences upon others. It was difficult, a very difficult time for me, but I was supported by unconditional love and weathered the painful parts. I was asked telepathically about whether I wanted to stay or return. Suddenly, I was popped back into my body and searing pain tore through my lower body. The same nurse in the blue smock was giving me a shot and telling me to relax and that the pain medication would soon begin to take effect. It seemed as if I had not been unconscious for more than a few minutes. Yet my visit to the quote other side unquote seemed to last hours. While out of my body in the ER, I noticed a red label on the side of the blade of the ceiling fan facing the top of the ceiling. I asked if someone would please listen to my incredible experience and was told that they had no time. Only one nurse in the hospital listened to me. She did so after I told her a few details of what she had said to the doctors and nurses while I was unconscious. She told of hearing of others who had been brought back from the brink of death with similar tales. I finally convinced her to get a tall ladder and see for herself the red sticker whose appearance I described in great detail on the other side, hidden on the hidden side of the emergency room ceiling fan. The nurse and an orderly saw the sticker confirming all the details of its appearance I described. Sounds like a fantastic, wishful fairy tale or some sort of hallucination, yet this British mom is not alone. People from around the world claim similar, hard-to-believe stories after experiencing medical miracles of resuscitation. Can we just dismiss such widespread global phenomena that many skeptical doctors have found scientifically convincing. In some of Europe's prestigious medical journals, The Lancet, an account was reported of a patient who had experienced cardiac arrest and was brought into Holland Hospital, comatose and not breathing. As a tube was placed in the patient's airway in order to ventilate him, the medical staff noticed that the patient wore upper dentures. The dentures were removed and tucked into the drawer of a nearby crash cart while the patient was in a deep coma. After resuscitation, the patient was moved to another room where he remained unconscious. A week later, the patient regained consciousness. When the nurse came in, he exclaimed, "Oh, that nurse knows where my dentures are." The nurse was very surprised as the patient explained, "Yes, you were there when I was brought into the hospital, and you took my dentures out of my mouth and put them onto that cart. It had all these bottles on it, and there was this sliding drawer underneath, and that's where you put my teeth." The patient claimed he had left his body and was observing the resuscitation from up near the ceiling. Yet he still felt very conscious throughout the procedure. They found his lost dentures right where he said they would. So this book is full of these stories. Why am I reading these? Because we're talking about what we know as death, but we must re-examine it and we have to redefine it. Death is a part of life, and it's just a new experience of how we exist for the moment that we exist. When we transition, when our energy, which is the spark of life, with our soul imprinted onto that, I should say, it's coupled with it. It's like it's conjoined to it. When that energy starts to dissipate, starts to leave the body, and we make that choice for it to do so, we do not die, meaning it is not final, it is not an end. I want you to understand, as a transition doula, as a death doula, as someone who's fascinated with death, someone who assists others to understand death and not see death as something bad. Is it painful to lose loved ones in the form of material? Of course. It's a very painful experience, and it changes not only the person who transitions, it changes the loved ones. It changes those, now when I say loved ones, I don't just mean immediate family and people who have met those who have transitioned. Anyone who has been touched by the life, the energy of the one who transitioned is changed. You have a new relationship with that individual. That individual is not dead. Not in the sense that we know dead to be the definition of gone, no longer existing, ended. No. And I hope, I know that this brings so much peace and joy in a time of great despair for those who are experiencing loss and grief, and not just those who are experiencing loss and grief, for those who are approaching a transition. When the material body can no longer sustain that vibrant energy, which we know as the spark, and our soul imprinted on the spark, conjoined to the spark. So when the material body can no longer sustain that energy, we make a decision. We do. Isn't that beautiful? We make a decision. Anyone who's lost someone, even if you've lost someone in a tragic car accident or in like gun violence, any type of freak accident, that person, that soul, that being made a decision to transition, to leave that flesh. Think about it. If someone has been, their material body has been severely damaged to where it's mangled, the spirit or the soul, the soul energy makes a decision to leave that material flesh because, of obvious reasons. If the body is mangled and just, that's why you do see some people who have been burnt beyond recognition. They don't even look human anymore, but they live. They're alive. They made the choice to stay. Now, this might upset some people. They might say, how can you say that? I know that this person didn't want to die. Let me talk to you about my personal experience. And it is very personal. It is my father. And my father, person, very remarkable man. He was genius, and he was wonderful with people. And he had everyone has their path that they work on. But my father was a very extraordinary person. He loved life. He loved joy. He loved living. He loved good food. He loved laughter. He loved people. He loved my mom. He loved us. He loved his friends. He loved his family. He loved everything about living. And unfortunately, his physical body developed cancer, but he fought the cancer because he wanted to live. And he did well, very well, years and years of well, I should say. And he lived, but needless to say, the body started to, he wasn't, the cancer started to metastasize and grow. It came back, then it metastasized. Okay. But he still wanted to live, and he did. He lived. He lived. He lived. This is what I do. I see dozens of people doing this. I know a woman right now who is a client, I mean, for lack of better words, who I've connected with. I should call her a connection. And she has battled with colon cancer and now it's kidney cancer. And she's been given a year by the medical profession. But that year is come and gone. The cancer has metastasized, but her body is working to where, of course, she's getting treatment. I'm all for conventional medicine, but I'm for holistic healing and naturopathic medicine as well. So I digress. She's alive because she has the will. She wants to continue, despite all the things that she has to lose. She wants to live. So going back to my dad, he also was living. Cancer was there, but he was living. Now, I started talking about this because some people say, well, no, what about people who didn't want to die? I know this person didn't want to die. My father did not want to die. No one wants to die. When I say we make the choice to let go, it is all our choice. And in the moments of my father transitioning, because see, as a transition doula, as a death doula, I try not to use the word end. If people want me to use that word, I do use it. But in the moments of him transitioning, approaching the transition, the actual transition, up until I'd say 3 days before, actually 2 days before. No, I'm going to say 1 day before. Sunday, things got really physically rough for him. Okay. He was doing everything, going to the grocery store for himself, checking his mail, taking walks, doing everything. But Sunday, woke up and had some difficulties with mobility. But, oh, by the way, this is something you will see very commonly, changes in voice. But see, also, desire to eat will diminish. Usually that happens weeks before, but with my father, he had a great appetite. He went to the store, had all his favorite foods, and Sunday, his voice changed. Now, you might have spiritual dreams on your end when you have a very close loved one, especially someone who shares your DNA. When you have that person transitioning, you may have a prophetic dream or a vision about that, whatever reason or however you may have it. But anyway, I digress. So he was fine. He told us, I'm fine. I just need some rest. I had a dream, woke up before I even talked to him. Called my sister on Monday. I told her, it's time. And she's like, what are you talking about? I knew it was time. But we contacted my father, and he was like, I'm fine. And we're like, we need to check on him. So my brother is a doctor, a medical doctor. He knew all about it. But my father told, when I say all about it, what my father was, his material flesh becoming, being overcome with the cancer. So, but my father asked him to keep that private, and my brother did exactly that. However, Monday, I hung up with my father, heard his voice, called my brother, and he was like, oh, I'm glad I can finally let you know what's been going on. Yes, he's, it's moments coming. So back to my father's will, he still was adamant about being fine and just needing rest. This was Monday, from Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. He's like, he was even getting irritated with all of us. We were staying by his bedside. He was just, things were happening. The changes were taking place in the material body. But he still was like, I'm fine, because he had the will to live. He did not want to transition. However, it does come down to the physical body quite often. with those who are full of life and who want to live, especially in children and in parents who don't want to leave their children, things like that. So there's a strong will to live, but it comes down to the physical body. No, scratch that. I don't want to use that word physical. It comes down to the material body. And he finally got to a point where he was, I assume, he never said this, but I was there. And as the spirit, the soul of the person starts to assess the house that they will be able to live in, if they will be able to live in that house, and if they will be able to live the way they want to live in that house. When they assess that, being full of life, wanting to live, but saying, but where will I live? I can't possess this material flesh. It's necrotic, or it's mangled, mutilated. Well, So what I'm saying is, he only transitioned when he decided, okay, this body is, it's not going to be what I wanted. I'm not going to be able to do what I want to do in this body. I shared that very personal story because I know for a fact that when even those, everyone wants to live. I mean, we're not talking about suicide. That's a whole different story. But even those who commit suicide want to live. Up into the very moment when they've damaged their body. And they say, oh, okay, I want to let go. Or not just when it comes to suicide. I didn't want to get into it, but when it comes to suicide, it's not just about flesh. It's about the will to live. What is my life? Is it enriched with those who love me and with things I love? Or is it just painful? So, but I'm getting back to, still, in every transition, in every death, when the spirit passes on, it is a choice. And the choice is made to leave that body. Now, this should give comfort to those who are grieving, or those who are afraid and don't know what to expect with death. Death isn't a curse. Death is not, punishment. Life is precious and wonderful. Every life we live, because we have many lives that we've lived. Every life we live is a treasure. It's an immeasurable treasure. It's immense power that we don't even realize, because it is the spark. It is energy from the almighty, unfathomable power, God, the universe, the multiverse, whatever you call that. That which is that you cannot speak of. The one. So that's why all life is so precious. We've been lent a spark from the everlasting, unfathomable God. When I say God, because a power that is over us, that can't even be, we can't even wrap our minds around it. Yet it is within us. It has been lent to us by the universe, by the multiverse, by the unfathomable, unseen, mysterious, omnipresent, omnipotent, omniscient God. So every life is so precious, and we just savor it. We We take that spark from the moment in the womb and we start to imprint a soul onto it through consciousness. Oh, consciousness, elusive as you are ever present. More paradox. With that said, I'd like to leave you with just the understanding that death is not final. Death is not, it's not evil. It's not a punishment. Is it painful to those who cannot touch or hear the actual voice coming from the person's flesh? I'm not talking about recordings, but does it hurt? Yes, it hurts, but we can reduce some of that pain by understanding the everlasting presence of death, which is to understand that it is not final. Death in itself is, and it's, how can I say this? When there is death, there is a manifestation of life. The beauty of the paradox is remarkable. We've got the yin yang, the balance, the scales of Ma'at. We have the two tablets in Torah. We have the balance hanging in the balance. That is the amazing thing about us. We embody all. We are the universe. We're the microcosm. We look at ourselves metaphysically. We look at ourselves in every physical way. That's why the quantum world is being examined. You know, the unseen, so to speak, you know, down to the little atoms and electrons and protons, quarks, neutrinos, my favorite neutrinos. So anyway, I hope this helps. Let's continue to discuss death. If you need any type of support, or if you'd like to reach out to me on a professional level, you can contact me. I would like you to email me on a different email, not the one that I share for my channel. But if you want to reach out for professional assistance, or even just to sit and connect about death, transitioning, you can contact me at Lubby Lou. Yes, Lubby Lou. Love you too. Lubby Lou is spelled L as in love, U as in umbrella, B as in boy, B as in boy, Y as in yellow, L as in love, U as in umbrella, U as in umbrella, Lubby Lou, LUBBYLUU @gmail.com. And you can email me and talk to me about your experience, what you're dealing with, and I look forward to hearing from you all. So, yes, by the way, always reach out for therapy when you're dealing with anything that you find overwhelming spiritually or even physically overwhelming. Always reach out for therapy. We're quick to run to the doctor when we have cold, but we oftentimes don't reach out for therapy when we're dealing with depression, grief, anxiety. Okay, so with that said, Assalamu alaikum, Hotep, Namaste, Jumbo, Tuantar, Ashe, Shalom. All the greetings of love and light to the darkest minds of the light. I am NapahShadah. And until next time, I'd like to just say peace. Thank you for tuning in. And please like and again, like, subscribe, and share so I can continue to grow and reach more people from this end of the spectrum from my channel. All right.